Coming up next, a special address by Rhode Island Governor Lincoln Chafee. The following is a production of RenewableNow.biz and GrowSmart Rhode Island, and is made possible by Bank of America, GZA, Geo-Environmental Incorporated, National Grid, and the Arpin Group.
It's now my privilege to introduce Governor Lincoln Chafee. Governor Chafee has been a strong supporter of GrowSmart Rhode Island and the Smart Growth Agenda throughout his term, and he's ending his term with what I have called a Smart Growth on Steroids policy package. This is headlined by his proposal for $52 million in extended funding for the Historic Tax Credit Program, but we also applaud his push for first-time ever state funding of brownfield cleanup activity, and his proposal for purchase, yes. And there's more. His proposal for purchasing farmland for the growing crop, pardon the expression, of new young farmers in the state is another sound investment for a stronger Rhode Island. We also commend the governor for seeking to strengthen our marine infrastructure as part of his environmental bond initiative, and for recommending the development of new transit hubs around downtown Providence to make our overall transportation system more user-friendly, more seamless, and more economically competitive. Now, like all governors, Governor Chafee certainly has taken his lumps, but I think most fair-minded people would agree that he's always been working to bring out the best in our state. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our governor and my fellow Brown class of '75 classmate, Governor Lincoln Chafee.
Well, thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott. Very kind. And listening to Dr. Barber, I had to think that you never take the mayor out of anybody. And when I first got elected, one of the things I wanted to do is fix the Amtrak clock at the Providence station. And I'm very happily to get that done, the help of Director Lewis and DOT. So you can't take the mayor out of anyone once you've done that job. You've got a great day in front of you here, and I can't think of two better words in the English language than to grow and to be smart. Those are two great words, and so look forward to all the good ideas that will come out of today's session. I learned about GrowSmart and smart growth as running for the city council in 1986, and going door to door. I was surprised how fervent the people were in their anger about what was happening in their own neighborhoods and what was with zone changes in their neighborhoods that were going through the city council. And I learned that going door to door, just knock on the door, and I'd get an earful, get my ear chewed about, we don't want a zone change, higher density. We moved here for 1 house per acre or what it might be, and now they're putting in 10 houses per acre, the zone changes. So I learned that, and I went on to vote on the city council, and then to take that agenda on to run for mayor and become mayor. And of course, as mayor, I changed the way we did our development, our growth in the city, and that was get the neighbors in early to review the project, add to what they wanted or didn't want in the project, and then to go forward. And it was such a different climate as we looked at growing in our city of Warwick. Bring the neighbors into every proposal early, listen to them, and then to go forward. We're also proud of what we did in Warwick with I always say, the closest Amtrak line to an airport in the country. Now, someone said out in Burbank, it's 10 feet closer, but right by our airport went Amtrak, but there was no stop. Of course, in Europe, everywhere, the rail and the air is integrated. So let's take advantage of this asset in Warwick and to connect the two. And we accomplished that, very proud of that. With the downturn in the economy, it's been a little slower than I've hoped to get the real estate developing in that area that should naturally come to a confluence of an airport, an Amtrak line, and also, by the way, Route 95, all right there And so the vision is still, the real estate's ready, the vision is there, the infrastructure's been done. As the economy comes back, I expect that to be one of the hottest places anywhere in the Northeast. And then I went to the Senate, and as Scott mentioned, took with me a mayor's agenda, and that is brownfields. For mayors, we know that the real estate is so important to our communities, and if you have a brownfield site, developers don't want to go there because back then it was under Superfund, which tremendous liabilities. If you touch the land, you own it. And so we want to separate these slightly contaminated brownfields away from Superfund, and we were able to do that and got that bill passed. And it's hard for a senator to get, or anybody in Congress, to get something passed. But we got that passed and signed by the president, and now those brownfield sites are much easier to develop, which is good. Get them on the tax rolls, which we like, and also the surrounding areas are more likely to develop. If you have an eyesore of a brownfield site, it lowers the assessed value of the surrounding real estate. So it's all positive. And of course, we talked about climate change. Dr. Barber talked about climate change. We worked on getting carbon dioxide listed as a pollutant while my time in the Senate, along with nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, and mercury. Unfortunately, not successful at getting that done, but we worked on it anyway. And then the last 3.5 years, working with GrowSmart, we got a $1.9 million HUD grant for sustainable communities, and working with all the partners here in Rhode Island to develop a roadmap for our state, and that's making great progress on that. Working with GrowSmart, we got tax credits last year, $35 million in historic tax credits, got them back. What a great improvement it is to have these historic tax credits in our state back. With a downturn in the economy, we just couldn't afford them, but now as the economy's coming back here, we got $35 million last year, we got another $50 million proposed this year, and makes such a difference in our state. We just couldn't do these projects without these historic tax credits. And I tell the story when we visited Pittsburgh to see what the transformation of their economy in Pittsburgh. It was very different because they showed us a picture from 40 years ago, and the lining of the rivers were all these steel mills. Lining the rivers around Pittsburgh, steel mill after steel mill. And then a picture today, or as we traveled around, those steel mills have been torn down, and new glass and steel structures, modern economy coming in, but we can't do that here. We don't want to tear down our historic mills, level them and put up new glass and steel buildings. So we need these historic tax credits as we go forward to change our economy here. I don't want to tear down all those historic mill buildings anyway. I don't know about anybody else. And the historic tax credits are so important to that. And as Scott said, this year's budget is smart growth on steroids. I like that. I agree with that. We have a $35 million arts, culture, and historic assets bonds. Need all your help to get through the legislature and then passed in November. This is important. $75 million environmental bond. We need that to get through the legislature and pass in November. $40 million for our mass transit. Passed by the legislature. This is important. This isn't a done deal. Need all your help here to get this passed by the legislature and passed in November. And then Dr. Barber talked about what the changing economies of the world. And at the National Governors Association meeting this a few months ago down in Washington, we had one of our speakers, the CEO of General Electric, Jeffrey Immelt. And in the course of his comments to us governors, he said that, kind of boasted, that we can build a refrigerator with an hour and a half of labor. And then he went on with his comments. I'm thinking about that. It must be all robots, and for an hour and a half of labor, we can build a refrigerator, changing how things are changing. But then I thought, somebody's got to build those robots and program those robots, and that's probably not factored into that 1.5 hours that he just mentioned. So I also have, my fourth bond issue is $125 million this year for URI Engineering School. So we can, those are the 4 bond issues. Arts, culture, historic assets, the environmental bond, the mass transit bond, and an engineering school at URI, new engineering school. It's a big number, 125 million, but we want to be building those robots and programming those robots in this changing economy. And lastly, before you get on with your great day today, maybe it's the mayor and me also, we've got a great highway beautification program going on out there. I don't know if you've noticed it. New road signs going up at our gateways as you come in to Rhode Island from Route 24, Route 95, Route 6. So I not only like to get the clock working at the Amtrak, I want people when they come into Rhode Island to have a good, welcoming gateway. And so we're working with DOT and the great crew at DOT. I'm really proud of some of the murals that are going on in those formerly graffiti-covered abutments in Pawtucket and as you come up through Connecticut. And so good things are happening here in Rhode Island. I'll paraphrase Scott by saying, let's stop stewing and continue doing. Thank you very much.
This has been a RenewableNow.biz and GrowSmart Rhode Island production.